You're listening to Fiction Fairies, two authors chasing joy and creativity. I'm author Christine DePetrillo.
And I'm author Amanda Torrey. Welcome to our podcast where we amplify joy, whimsy, and the magic of the written word. How are you today, Christine?
I am lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Look at us both with t-shirts
I
today.
know. I'm letting the flabby arms flap.
Actually, I'm letting my very white arms. Look at that. Like they have
they're,
not seen sunlight in months.
they're like, give it all to me. Give me the
Yes,
vitamin
yes.
D.
And the
I'm
bugs,
very
the bugs
sorry.
are already out. The bugs are already out. One got me
Oh no,
square
we're
on the
getting
neck, right there, already
Mhm.
feasted, right on
Maybe
me.
we should change the topic from werewolves to vampires.
Yeah, really, and I mean, I was pretty well protected out there, and that guy
Mhm.
still snuck in. So,
Gotcha. See, bugs don't usually
yeah,
bite me. I think I have like that blood that they're like repulsed by.
yeah. No, I don't
So
usually
like,
either, but it was rather steamy out. I had been playing with the dog, so I must have just smelled delicious. What are you
oh
gonna do?
wow, what can you do? What can you do?
That's it.
Attracting all the
That's
bugs
it.
in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the unfortunate thing is that the weather is finally nice, and so, the bugs have their Hawaiian shirts out and their little drinks with umbrellas, and they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
"All right, let's go,"
Hey, and you
So,
were on the buffet.
yep, pretty much. So,
Mm.
one of the things we like to do on the Fiction Fairies podcast is share what's in our chalice, which is what we're drinking today. I have another one of
I
my
love
mugs in my new series. It's Cats and Books.
that's
Pretty
adorable.
cute. I like this one.
Love it.
So this has guava kombucha in it right now. So
Whoa.
yeah, not
Okay.
homemade. This is store bought, but the husband is brewing some, so we're
Ooh.
dabbling.
All
So
right. I want to
what
hear how
about
it
you?
goes. Well, I have just a tea. It's like a menopause tea called Cool Moments by Twinings, and it's like peach, lemon balm, sage. I don't know. It's really good. Honey bush, but it's very tasty, and I want to try it as an iced drink. But I did not have my life together enough to plan ahead for that today, as usual. So right now it's hot tea on a hot, steamy day, but
Oh no.
supposedly it'll make me cool. We'll see.
Okay, we'll
If it's like
see. That
it
yeah,
cancels.
I would say that science doesn't seem to be logical, but
You never know. We'll see. We'll see
you
how
never
it
know. Yeah, yeah.
So our main goal with this podcast is to meet authors and other creative people, and we are really eager to meet some of you. So, get in touch with us. We love to go behind the scenes in the creative process, build a whimsical and weird community. How is my whimsy on there? Was that
That was
whimsical?
great. Yeah. Two thumbs up for that whimsy. It caught me by surprise.
I saw it in your face. We love to highlight the power of play and to find joy in creativity. So, digging into the joy, Christine, how did you
Mhm.
invite joy into your life since our last episode?
Well, I've invited, I think, the same joy that many, many, many people have been inviting into their lives recently, and that is watching the show Off Campus on Amazon,
Okay.
based on the books by L. Kennedy, and just, a sensation sweeping the
Mhm.
globe at the moment. And it's one of those shows where I watched the 8 episodes through and immediately restarted, which I never
Ah,
do. I do rewatch things, but I usually have my certain shows that I'll rewatch annually at certain times of the year.
mm.
Never do I hit last episode and be like, I gotta start this from the beginning. And
But you
I'm
did.
going to confess right now that
Mhm.
there may be a third rewatch in my future.
Scandalous.
Uh, so good.
I
So,
love
so
it.
good. From story to character arcs to the actors and actresses that they chose to play the parts.
Mm.
So excited that there'll be a second season. I've also been binging. There's a off-campus official playlist on Spotify that I have just been listening to on repeat because that's the other thing that really gets me is when the music is good as well. Because
Yes.
I'm somebody who, when I watch something, I super tune into the music right away,
Really?
and that hooked me as well. It's one of the reasons why I still watch the Twilight's
Mm-hmm.
movies, because the soundtrack for those is so
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on par with that for a
Okay.
soundtrack. So that's been my
That's
joy. I just
exciting.
yeah, what's funny is that I keep looking for like I keep googling like shows like Off
Mhm.
Campus, and unfortunately I've watched most of those already. So I did go down a rabbit hole, and I was looking for, what else had some of those actors and actresses
Mhm.
been in, and for the main character I did find something last night. Well, I found two things, one of which I had already watched previously, but
Mhm.
the other thing was unfortunately a scary movie, which I don't
Oh.
normally do. But I was
Mhm.
like, oh, all right, I'll just watch it. Of course, watched it before bed. Big mistake.
Oh no.
Nightmares all night
Oh
long.
no.
Nightmares and night sweats is what happened. And I think
Oh.
somewhere in a parallel universe where everything's opposite, you and I are doing a podcast episode where it's not joy, and it's
Oh no.
called Night Sweats and Nightmares. That's
I
what's
think
that's
that
what's in my mind.
this might be a kickoff, a little spinoff.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So, how about
Maybe
you?
the
What's your
dark
recent
fairies
joy?
will come out for that one.
Yeah. What's been your recent joy?
Well, I'm gonna have to add that to my list, and I will say that I'm so excited with all the romance novels that are being made
Yes.
into movies. This is and series. This is just amazing. Love
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I will add just briefly too, like Amazon is killing it with doing like these new adult
Mm,
romance kind of things,
are they?
like, with I just feel like I've watched a lot of things. I saw a thing online the other day that was comparing Amazon right now to the CW channel, like
Oh,
in the
really? Oh, I
2000s, and I
loved
was like,
that.
oh, I did too. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this all makes sense now. They're
Okay.
feeding the Christine who loved CW in the 2000s. So yeah,
Well, we may need to submit some ideas to them because I think we have some
for
stuff
real.
on our backlist that would be highly appropriate.
I do. I agree. 100%. So yeah. All right.
um,
What's your joy?
well, I just got back from Scotland, which of course is always
Yay.
a joy. And I brought my mom and one of her friends, and it was pretty joyful because I kind of felt a little like a fairy godmother, which I love to do because her friend had been to Scotland before, but her grandmother and her father and her family lived in Scotland, were born there and moved here. So we got to go track down her grandmother's house. She had one photograph with the address. And so we went there and saw it. We met the person living there. Like he just happened to be coming home from work and we accosted him on the street and he was very kind. And so that was really special. That was gave me some joy to see her so happy, to be able to connect with her family that way. It was really special. Um, and then another like minor joy, which does not sound like a joy, but it is. Bear with me. I just had oral surgery and it is hurting, and I'm like puffier than normal, even though you might not be able to tell because I'm always pretty puffy in the face. And smiling hurts, but I always do that when I'm around Christine. So I know if I'm holding my face. But the joyful part of it is that this is work that I have put off for many, many years, and it just caused kind of some chronic pain issues. So even though the pain is like amplified and going through the process was not joyful, I do feel joy in the fact that I have finally conquered that fear of doing it, and it
Mm.
will be on the mend and I will be feeling better. And so that's just my little shout out to do your self-care and take care of yourself even when you don't really want to.
Yeah. And
So
Joylings, we need to send Amanda all the healing
please
energies.
give
There
it
you
to
go.
me.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
That's something over here and something over here. And this one is, on the side is pretty bad, but I will survive and I will try not to even whine too much. No promises, but anyway,
Yeah. Well, we'll try not to smile. We'll try to be very
we'll try to
serious.
be very serious. That won't ever happen.
No,
I
we
can't
can't
I
do
can't
it.
do it.
That's
Can't do
that's
it.
not gonna happen. Yeah.
So today's topic on our lovely podcast here is this just add werewolves, how to connect your brand to a new work. And I'm super, super excited about this topic because we're so close to the release of Christine's book in the Fumbled Fairy Tales collaboration. Woo! So the Fumbled Fairy Tale series that we've already discussed in previous episodes, You have been introduced to Dorothy Callahan's Bella and the Bullfrog. Oh my gosh, look at that. You have been introduced to Amanda Torrey, that's me, Braids and the Beast. And now we are here to discuss the gorgeous, the wonderful third book in the series, Ruby and the Royal. Look at those books. Oh my gosh. If you're listening and not watching, please hop on YouTube, just like skip ahead to like the 10-minute mark and check out these books. They're gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
them all together like that, just
Yeah,
gorgeous.
just being able to hold them all together as a set is just lovely.
They are like the cover designer really outdid herself. Like they're just
Yeah. Shout out to Dar Albert at Wicked Smart Designs,
she is
especially knowing the hot mess of notes that we sent her, and then she was able to drum up this beauty.
talk about fairy godmothers. That's her.
Yes.
She made it happen.
She must have a wand. Must.
She absolutely must. Absolutely. We should have her on this podcast someday and talk about her creative process.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, make a note. So this series takes familiar fairy tales that you have read and enjoyed or heard, and switches up the hero and heroine pairings to bring readers all new happily ever afters to enjoy. Christine's retelling Ruby and the Royal, a Red Riding Hood meets Prince Charming fractured fairy tale, goes live on June 16th. So we thought that since we are in the month of June now, we would interview Christine on today's episode and find out how she connected this fairy tale retelling to other works in her backlist.
Yeah, I have always wanted to write something involving Red Riding Hood. So I was very excited to hear about this series and to be able to do this in the Fumbled Fairy Tale series for sure.
It's really incredible. Like such a joy for me has been seeing how you and Dorothy each took these tales, and that I'm like, how are you gonna do that? And then you do it like absolutely beautifully. So
yeah, same. And watching you and Dorothy too, it's like, how are we gonna, like, talking about it ahead of time and thinking about the pairings, and it's like, how are we gonna do this? And like every single one of them, I believe that these unique pairings are what was meant to be. Yes,
100%.
exactly.
And 100%. And Ruby with Prince Charming, like, oh my gosh. I am one of the very lucky readers who have gotten to read it ahead of its publication. And I'm telling you, people, like, you are in for a treat. So definitely put this on your calendar, June 16th. So to dive into this topic that I am overjoyed to discuss, in case you couldn't notice, like so overjoyed that it's making my face throb.
That's hurting you, yes.
Physically hurting me to have this much joy. I'd love to start with the question that I know everyone will be wondering about. Okay, you ready for the hard? This is like the hot seat.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. How did you dream up a Red Riding Hood Prince Charming match? Like those don't seem like ones I would think would go together. Like, give us the info on that, please.
Yeah, like I said, I've always been interested in Red Riding Hood, and I've always been kind of fascinated by that tale, just probably because it involves woods that I love, it involves a wolf that I love, and her flashy red cloak. Like there was just always something about her character, even though like she's a child in the original tale. Like there's just something about it that's always interested me. So I started, when you first mentioned this project, she came into mind. I was like, oh, this is my chance to write something with Red Riding Hood. And then in terms of the Prince Charming, for him, I kind of thought about fairy tale heroes. And of course, the Beast is one of my favorites, but knowing that he was already taken care of, I was thinking about Prince Charming and how he doesn't really have like much of a story. Like what we know about him is like there's a ball, he's supposed to be finding a wife, and that's kind of like, that's all we know. The only other thing we know about him really is that he's not aware enough to recognize the chick that he dances with and to be able to find her later, this woman that's supposed to be his true love match.
Not even to narrow down a basic body type.
No, and he has to resort to trying on shoes to identify her. So I think I sort of felt like this was a duty to me to try to like redeem him in some way, to like give him another shot at being interesting and invested in his own love story.
Oh, so true. So true.
Yeah.
And so redeem him you did.
Tried.
Can you tell us about what Ruby and the Royal is about? Like, give us the plot deets.
Yes. Yep. So, Ruby, who is Red Riding Hood, that's what I named her. I kind of zoom forward and make her 25 years old. And I pair her with Prince Charming from Cinderella, who I named Henry.
Mm.
And I also made him 25. And with the shaking of the ancient tome of fairy tales, Ruby suddenly finds herself in a forest that is not the one that she is used to one morning. And her life is about stealing from the rich to give to the poor. So she's kind of got this Robin Hood vibe a little bit
Mm,
going
mhm,
on. So she doesn't exactly follow the rules all the time. But her heart is in the right place. So she's one of those, like, yeah, technically she's an outlaw, but you can be compassionate to what her purpose is and what she's trying to
mm,
achieve here.
mhm,
Um, and in this new realm that she lands in, she discovers a castle and a royal ball taking place. And her mind immediately goes to, hey, that's a
mm,
pretty big castle. And I bet
mhm.
there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Yeah.
And even though she realizes they're not in her own realm, she's like, if there's some way that we can break into that and steal that stuff and then find our way back to our own forest, like what a score that
Mm,
would be. So, and of course, the best laid plans go awry, and she meets Prince Charming, and then a 3-day adventure
mm.
ensues from there. So,
Oh my gosh. I have to go back and reread it again because like just hearing you talk about it puts me back into that setting and that I loved. But what did you find most joyful about writing this book since we're all about the joy here in Fiction
all about
Fairies?
the joy. Yeah. Well, we've mentioned a lot that we had so
We
much fun
have.
writing these, like top to bottom. But a particular thing is that I liked creating the backstory for both Ruby and Henry because, like, as I
Mm,
mentioned with the prince, like we didn't know that much about him, and
mhm,
even Ruby, like we know that she's going to visit her grandmother and encounters the wolf, and problems happen from there. So I had fun imagining what happened in their past to turn them
mm,
into the people they are in the story.
mhm,
Um, like Ruby has suffered some loss and fears being alone, and she's kind of been taught not to trust men, so she's got those issues going on. She's also got that drive to help the poor people and animals of her village. And then Henry is dealing with being misunderstood by his royal parents and the incredible weight of being a crown prince and all the expectations that go with that. And the two things that he really that are weighing on his mind is that he needs to marry and he's eventually going to be running this kingdom.
mhm.
So it was fun to fabricate their pasts and make those past traumas really um, work for the story, make it meaningful for the story.
It certainly gave so much more depth than what we get in the original fairy tales, where it's just this happens and then this happens, and we don't really understand why or what led to anything. So,
Right.
by having these backstories, we really get to
Mm.
understand the characters, which is fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
and I also like wanted to kind of circle back a little bit because I absolutely love these noble twists that you put in, which are things that were not in the original, like her, stealing, robbing from the rich to give to the poor and things like that. And so, like, what led you to wanting to make her such an activist, which I love?
Yeah. Um, let's see. Current events, the society in which we live, all the wrongs of civilization,
Yes.
those kinds of things. That's kind of where I was like, she needs to just. I think it was a way to make the story, although it has a historical medieval fairy tale feel, it was a way to make it current and relevant
Mm,
to today.
yeah, thanks,
And,
Rican.
almost I almost want Ruby to be a call to action for people
Mm,
to read,
mhm,
and
yeah,
there's something again about that red cloak that
uh-huh,
always made me associate her with kind of boldness.
yeah,
And so in this story, I decided just to make her bold with this cause of
mm,
looking at the disparity between rich and poor and like
mhm,
what could she do about it.
mhm. Right, because she's not taking things and living in a life of luxury,
No,
she's
no,
she's
not at all.
living very simply and, having her needs sort of, barely met but she is looking out for others, and it is so
Yes.
noble of her, and it is just such a beautiful character development. So, How is writing this story different from other stories you've written?
Well, again, easy to write with the planning done collaboratively between you and me and
Mhm.
Dorothy. So there were a lot of decisions I didn't have to, perseverate over, which was nice.
Mm,
And I wasn't stopping to consider, I'll do this and then I'll do that. It was as much as I do with the other books. There were fewer. My other books with fewer parameters means I have to make more decisions. So this
right.
kind of did that. So that made it different from other stories, the collaborative piece. And I think remembering to try to use some more formal language so that it
Mm,
came off as a fairy tale and came off
mhm,
as sort of historical,
mhm,
to make that reading experience feel old world, because I'm used to, as you are, writing
mhm,
contemporary.
right.
So there's a lot of, slang, and there's modern references and
Mm,
technology and things like that. Even something as simple as not using contractions was something that was a decision that I kind of went back and forth over. I'm like, because in the reread you're kind of like, you stumble over it a little bit,
mhm,
but then it also does have this kind of elevated sound to it that makes it
mhm.
sound old. So
Yes, yes. And I think that that is, definitely a way that you were able to stretch your creative wings a little bit outside of, like, the norm of how we normally write to
yes.
change it. But did you find that writing linguistic style difficult to sort of embrace, or, should we expect it in all of your future works?
Yeah, no, I did find it a little bit difficult, especially it being in first person, because
Mm,
I don't know about you, but when I write in first person, like there's a lot of me in there too, right?
right,
You're
right.
trying to come off as the character, but it's a lot of your own internal thoughts there too. And
Mm,
so, and obviously my internal thoughts are of, this time period. So
yes.
I did find it. I will say there was a lot of search and replace
Mm,
in the editing stages to find things like contractions and
mhm.
did I literally searched for like phone and cell phone
All
and like
right.
text, and making sure that I didn't have those kinds of things in there that I'm so used to putting into books. So I did like the final result, and I did like having that, 'cause medieval times is, one of my favorite
Mhm,
periods as well, and I love fairy tales, so I did enjoy it. And I think if I did do it more often, it would be something that I'm less conscious of,
mm,
and it would happen a little more naturally than in this book, where I did have to make sure and
mhm.
kind of do some checks on myself to make sure that it was still sounding to the time period I wanted it to come off as. So
I mean, that makes sense. If you were writing a series of books in this, then you would be so into it that then when you go back to having, you'd have to remember to put cell phones back into your world
yes.
when you go back to the
Right,
contemporary.
right. Well, and you bring up another point too, with two other books that came before me. If
Mhm.
mine all of a sudden sounded more modern,
Mm.
it wouldn't have been the worst thing, but it
Mhm.
kind of would have ruined that flow and that continuity
Mhm.
that makes it a series. So,
Right. So true. So true. But it is just stunning. But now to let's take a little side quest, or maybe a main road quest, I don't know, into our main topic, which is how you connected your brand, which is not typically fairy tale retellings, to
mm,
this new work. So since we don't normally write fairy tale retellings, this was a new genre for all three of us. I think Dorothy has kind of dabbled a little bit in fairy tales previously, and I have used fairy tale tropes of in my work
yes.
as you have.
Mm,
But this as a genre of actually taking fairy tale characters and putting them in a fairy tale setting and actually just retelling the fairy tale, new for all of us, I think. Um, but from the business of like the writing perspective, it makes sense to build a bridge between our existing body of work that we already have, that people already read, to these new books. So, what did that look like for you in trying to make sure that you could take, readers that you currently have could bridge over, or that new readers that came into this series could cross that bridge over to your other works as well?
yeah. Yeah. Basically, it was one main thing that I think that I did. I added one simple ingredient, which was werewolves. I mean, that's kind of
Delicious.
my answer to everything. Like any kind of problem, like just add werewolves. Like
And
that
werewolves.
works.
I like this recipe.
Yeah. So I put werewolves in Ruby and the Royal to tie it to two of my other series, the Warrior Wolves series and the Moon Valley Pack series, both of which include werewolves. And When I mentioned that I always wanted to write something with Red Riding Hood, I did always envision it having a werewolf. So, like the wolf that she encounters in the real fairy tale, I just always, my mind always went to, well, what if it was a werewolf?
Mhm.
So, in this world for Ruby and the Royal, I got to play out that fantasy and kind of added werewolves to the fairy tale
Mhm.
enchanted creatures. So it allowed me to have Ruby hang out with a pack of 5 werewolves.
Mm. Nice.
And so these wolves that I put in Ruby and the Royal have a similar energy to my wolves in my other 2 series. They kind of behave in familiar ways. With fated mates are mentioned. They've got those big dog vibes.
Mhm.
You've got those themes of like loyalty and trust with the werewolves, that kind of pack mentality. So if you have read my other werewolves, you'll love these werewolves. And
Mhm.
if you read the werewolves in Ruby, you'll want to go check out my other werewolf ones because that same energy is there.
Oh, it's so true. Like that loyalty and the protectiveness and like all those things that you just, I mean, I just wanted to hug all of them, like they're just a great pack. And there was
And
a
they are what Ruby needs because of things
Mhm.
that happened in her past. So
Right.
her getting in with this pack is fulfilling a need for her.
Yes. Aw. And she never feels in danger with them, which is just lovely.
No.
And there was a huge part of me rooting for a love match with the werewolves in this story. Like, I had to, like, Tam, no, come on, we need Prince Charming needs love too. But having them as such a protective family circle for Ruby was just gorgeous. It was just just a stunning, gorgeous, delicious, wonderful thing. So, as a Christine DiPetrillo fan for well over a decade, I don't even want to count the years. There's too many. I noticed some other connections to your other creative works. So can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. I connected Ruby and the Royal to my other works too through my setting descriptions,
Mhm.
I think that is many of the reviews in my other books talk about how real the setting is, and I have a lot of reviews that are like, I want to live in this town, or I felt like I visited Vermont by reading this. So I do think, I'm very self-critical of myself as a writer, but I will pat myself on the wings
Pat your wings. I'll
for
flutter my wings
yeah,
for you.
yeah, thanks. For the setting descriptions, I do feel like I try very hard to take readers and put them in that setting. So I took that same approach
Mhm.
to writing Ruby and the Royal and trying to nail it down. I mean, it's not a small town, so it's is different kind of
Mhm.
setting, but
Mhm.
the woods are still prominent, which
Yes.
that's another through line for Christine DiPetrillo books is that though
Mhm.
at some point the woods are going to be its own character, so you
For
can
sure.
expect that.
Yeah.
And I just want my readers to be, running in the woods with Ruby and the wolves. I want them to be twirling around the
Mhm.
dance floor at this grand royal ball. That just I want them to camp out while they're on this 3-day journey
Yeah.
and be able to see what the characters see. So that focus on setting as much a character as the characters are, so that I can really transport the readers to these new works, especially if they're used to my old works. I think it does
Mhm.
make a good bridge. So
Oh, absolutely. You definitely would read this and be like, "Yep, Christine's doing it again. She's putting me right into Vermont and I'm tasting the maple syrup on my tongue." I can attest to the effectiveness of it because I really felt like I was right there with Ruby through all of her experiences. And, I believed every second of her sensory experiences and all the things she was, going through. I was there. I was right there. I was
oh,
part of
cool.
that story. So, oh, wonderful.
Nice, nice.
And of course, there's the very important thread that you carry through all of your series, which is the guaranteed happily ever after that's found in all of your other books. It's also here in Ruby and the Royal.
100%. Like the mere fact that Ruby and the Royal is a romance is a common thread between it and all of my other books. You'll leave your time with Ruby and Henry the same way you do when you leave any of my other characters in any of the other small towns. You'll have those warm fuzzies just coursing
Mhm.
through your veins no matter what. So,
I can definitely attest to that. So many more Dorothy's. Oh my gosh. Yes. Love, 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 love. I'm literally, after we get off from here, I'm going back and I'm starting at Dorothy's and then I'm reading yours again. Like,
Yeah, that's when I just held up the three of them. I was
yeah,
like, I gotta read these
I
again.
know. I
Yeah,
just have to read them. But when
yeah.
conceiving this story, like when you're talking about these warm fuzzies and the feeling of them and their love story growing, did you worry about the difference in sensuality, spice levels, and how it would impact readers or affect your brand? Because as I think most listeners know, like your books tend to be more steamy, more
Steamy.
sensual. There's on page intimacy. Whereas in this series, we all opted not to have that. It's very,
Mm.
wholesome, where they have
Yeah.
their attraction, they have their love, but there is no on page intimacy. Like, did you worry about how
Yeah.
that would affect your brand at all?
Yeah, I didn't worry so much. I think because, for both of us, we do have our other series that we wrote together, the
Mhm,
Sweetheart Island Resort matchmaking series. Those were also no spice.
mhm,
So we do at least have some books in our back list that are that. I also have a historical romance, and there's no on-page steaminess to that
mhm,
either. So I do have some books
mhm,
that are clean, like Ruby and the Royal is. And I think as long as you're clear in your book description on the retail sites that it's no spice, then readers should have a sense of what they're getting into. And
mhm,
if the only reason they like my other books is because they like the steamy scenes, which is fine if that's the
mhm,
only reason,
mhm,
I don't mind.
mhm,
Then maybe this one isn't for you. But if you like the books for the characters and the setting and just a guaranteed happily ever after, then and if you love werewolves,
mhm,
then it should still be for you.
mhm.
So
And honestly, because I read both, I'm not somebody who reads just one type of book. So I read
me too.
steamy books, I read the no spice books, I read all kinds of things. And I didn't miss it. I didn't
No,
miss
me either.
the because I feel like all of these books are sensual in other ways,
Mm,
where you get that full feeling of like there's that emotional journey and you feel the connection of the characters as they're coming together. And I wasn't sitting there thinking like, "Oh, this would just be better if they, were intimate on the page." It just didn't seem necessary
agreed.
for it. I mean, granted, if we did it in a different way and added those scenes, we could make it work, and we could make it. I know that when we write sensual scenes, they are needed for the story, for the character development. So it's not like we add gratuitous scenes typically. So I'm sure if we rewrote these in a different way, we could make it that way. But this was a
Yeah.
decision we made
I
at
think
the time.
I think all three of them really nail that kind of like yearning kind of
Mhm, mhm,
love.
mhm.
I also think that had we decided to have them be steamy, that would have presented some problems for both you and Dorothy with your heroes being a frog and a beast
That would
for
be
a
a little
good portion
challenging.
of the story. Yes. So,
That would be a
um
whole different thing.
exactly.
Yes,
So,
because even with the
I
beast,
think
like,
we made
to get them to have a kiss, like, I had to make their magical moment,
yes.
like, transformation.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah, I think we made the right call on
I
no
think so,
spice.
I think so. And I'm eager to hear from our readers who, have read our other stuff and read this to see
Hmm.
if they miss it or if they think we did okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing I really wanted to talk to you about with this is your side characters in your story. So though the stories were fumbled, Cinderella does make an appearance, and
It does.
that caused some conflicted feelings for me. But you resolved everything just beautifully. You took care with my heart, so I appreciate it. Uh, how did that decision factor into your plotting? Did you always know that she'd be there? Is there anything about this dynamic that reminded you of your other book worlds? Without giving away too much, of course,
Mm,
because we have
right.
to keep some mystery.
Yeah, with having Cinderella in it, it really just boiled down to me having in my mind a certain scene that it involves the first appearance of the glass slippers.
Mm,
So I had like kind of a funny idea in my mind for that, and I was like, that needs to be in there somehow.
mhm,
And I also, with the concept of the royal ball, in the original, like Cinderella is there.
mhm,
So I did kind of wrestle with like, is she just there and like doesn't get to interact with the prince at all, or do I pull her in and have her have an interaction? So I chose choice B,
Mhm.
but mainly because I wanted to do some fun things with the glass slipper.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there. And strangely enough, in terms of just the idea of writing something that's a fairy tale world, the last book in my Hartley's Nest series, which I wrote before Ruby and the Royal, but comes out after in
Mhm.
August, has a fairy tale theme in it.
Ah.
So it was kind of interesting when you asked me, do you want to be a part of this? And I was like, yeah, because like fairy tale was already
Mhm.
on my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that last book, even though it is a small town contemporary
Mhm.
steamy romance, it's got this fairy tale um, theme running
Mm.
through it.
Love
So
it.
it'll be nice if you read Ruby and the Royal, and then in August you pick up the
Mm.
last book in that series, and you can
Yeah.
kind of again another bridge between fairy
Yeah.
tale and then taking you back into modern times. So
Are you comfortable saying what fairy tale tropes can you use for that next book? Or we want to
mm.
keep this a surprise?
Well, there is a princess. I'll say
Okay.
that
Okay.
much.
All right. Intriguing.
And there are a few other things in there, a few other references, but there
Okay.
is a princess
So
in
we're
that
gonna
one.
have
So
some Easter eggs to look for in that upcoming book.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
And
no
one,
werewolves, no
don't
werewolves,
worry,
but
Mom. All right, we'll
yes,
forgive you.
yeah, yeah,
But another thing I just wanted to say about Ruby is that when you think about the glass slipper, and then there's like this ongoing joke about Ruby's feet, and it's hilarious. Like I literally laughed out loud so many times. So readers go, Joylings,
yes,
check it out just for like the foot jokes. It's just
yes.
really
Well,
funny.
and Ruby's feet, they do say write what you know. So I will say that much.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ah, hilarious. No, it really, really made me laugh so many times. So, all right. So anyway, back to our very professional interview.
Yes,
My
very
final
professional.
question for you with this is, what was challenging about writing this fractured fairy tale?
Right. Like again, as we said, it was a fun thing to write. So there weren't many struggles.
Hmm.
But one challenging part was I really wanted Henry, Prince Charming, to be like a cinnamon roll hero. I
Hmm.
really did want him to be kind of sweet, but I also wanted him to seem fit to rule a kingdom when he has to.
Yeah.
So it was this kind of balancing act. He doesn't want to rule a kingdom, but he will be required to at some point.
Hmm.
So he has to have the ability to be king, even though he
Hmm.
doesn't want to be.
Hmm.
And I also wanted Ruby to be the bolder character. So I had to, make him be able to match her energy without overshadowing it.
Hmm.
So it was like a delicate balance there where, I wanted readers to sigh over Henry's sweetness, but also feel secure with him.
Yeah.
So I had to think carefully about that so that he would be well balanced. He would be a good match for her, and that she could still be that bold and sassy activist that she is. So
Well, I wish I had a trophy here to give you. Here's a crystal,
I'll
because
take that.
you
Yes,
you mastered it like beautifully. I love a cinnamon roll hero, and Henry
me too.
definitely took a part of my heart. And I was just like, oh, you're just such a sweetheart. And I trusted Ruby to hold him delicately as well as him to hold her delicately. And you know, it's just wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. I
I
love
do think
Ruby.
that I think that's something that all three of us did well, because in reading yours and Dorothy's as well, I think all three of them had heroines who essentially rescued the heroes.
Mm,
But yet those heroes still had the opportunity to grow
yeah,
into what they ultimately were going to become.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think, good job for us
Good
on
job
that.
for us, Swing Flutter.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like all of our heroines, though they were strong and smart and capable, the hero definitely added to their lives. They did not
S-
detract. Like they didn't have to
Yeah,
compromise
yeah,
who they were at all for these heroes to
yes,
meet them where they were and for them to add something to their life. They didn't have to be with them because they needed protection or because they needed anything
yeah,
really. It really was just what we would dream of in real life, that you have two
yeah,
individuals coming together who are enhancing one another's lives and not
yes.
detracting from it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I would
oh, I
say
feel
that
him.
our heroes made our kind of quirky heroines finally feel right.
Yes.
Like they kind of like were in essence kind of misfit-ish
Yeah.
in a way, right? They
Yeah.
didn't quite fit into the times
Right, and they're
correctly, but
normal.
in meeting this match
Mhm.
and all of those heroes kind of just accepted
Mhm.
the women as they were,
Yeah.
um and like you said, kind of added to them, and they finally felt like, yeah, okay, I'm me, and that's okay, and like,
Yes.
I have
Mm,
stuff to offer, and now I
yeah.
have this partner that I can offer it with together, and so
Yeah. And
yeah,
not only is he accepting it, but he's loving it. Like, he loves them for those things that made them
yes,
misfits in their other worlds. He
yes,
wasn't trying to change them or, the heroes weren't trying to change the heroines. They were just fully like, "You are what is meant for me," and they find
yes,
that way. So, yeah, I think that
yep,
they're also beautiful. So to bring it back to our topic here, joylings, the lesson here is that while finding joy in creativity, which is what we so want for you, you can still be purposeful about it as a business person, as someone who is selling your art, or building a career, building a business. You can connect a new path you've taken to old paths you've walked so that your brand still comes out strong to the people who are purchasing your work or who are entering your creative worlds. Sometimes as artists, I know that like we kind of fear striking out into new realms of creativity. That can be a little scary sometimes, especially if you have established readership or established an established business that people have something they expect from you. It can be really tricky, but it absolutely can be done, and it can be fun. I mean, this was a joy, and
absolutely.
it can land you in a place of working on things that truly bring you joy, that just allow you to grow as an artist and just fulfill all of the things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that the Fiction Fairies highly recommend stretching your creativity in new areas and seeing what connections you can make to other things you've created.
Mhm.
In fact, like this type of exercise, it might even highlight what makes you uniquely you as a creative person. Like, so for me, I know I love writing about werewolves and describing settings in detail because I put them in my work, like
Mhm.
in a lot of my work.
Yeah.
So it's something that I can grow on and get into in more detail and
Mm.
stretch my wings to do those things.
Mhm.
And I think like Amanda, for you, again, having been a fan of Amanda Torrey's
Mhm.
work
Mhm.
for decades now,
Thank you.
I think like you writing heroes that are like subtly sweet,
Mm.
and you build these emotional arcs of your characters. I think that's
Mm.
such like a strength for you, and it's present in everything that you write. And it's like that's what I
Thank
want to
you.
read in your work.
Mhm.
And again, whether it's paranormal or it's contemporary or
Mm.
it's a retold fairy tale like
Mhm.
that, I got that still. So
Mhm.
that was why I pick up an Amanda Torrey book no
Mhm.
matter what the genre is, whether it's clean or as spicy.
Mhm.
um, and so, if you haven't read Dorothy's Bella and the Bullfrog and Amanda's Braids and the Beast, you want to grab those immediately. And, the links are down below in the show description, and you're not going to be disappointed by either of those story experiences or if you go into either of their backlists.
Yeah, honestly, like, and pre-order Christine's Ruby and the Royal Werewolves included. No extra cost for these fantastic werewolves.
No,
Look at
no
that
extra
cover.
costs.
Ah, I'm in love. We
Let's
will
just
have.
look at all three of them
I
again. We
know.
just need to look at all three of them again. I
I've
mean,
never been more
we just honestly have to.
pleasantly
Like,
like
just
these
look at them.
are stunning. Stunning.
I mean, even the backs are pretty.
They really are. They really
And
are.
I always like to do this where you can like look at them on your
Like, look at
shelf.
those colors. They glow. They
I know.
literally glow. I'm astounded. astounded.
Perfect.
We will have the
Perfect.
link in the show description for all of the books, and you'll definitely want to join the pack because let me
You
tell you,
will.
those werewolves, they are something. They are something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and
Just
like also, I think it would be kind of we didn't add this as I'm thinking this maybe should have been part of the Sprite spell, but like if you read if you read these books of ours, I would challenge you to go and check out one of our other books in our backlist just to kind of see what we're talking about with how we bridged, like
yes.
how what we wrote in this,
Mm,
even though it's a totally new genre, can kind of link back to what we already write so that you would hear our
yes.
voices in this as well as in the things that we've previously worked on. And just so that you can see, especially if you're new to writing or if you're looking at kind of branching out into new genres or anything like that, you can see how it can be done and how if a reader likes this, they might like other things that we've written because it kind of has that same groundwork, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for somebody like me too, who has really never veered from using my Christine DePetrillo as my author
Mm,
name on no matter what I write,
mhm,
it is important to me that I do have those connections and those bridges
mhm,
so that there is some familiar pieces
mhm.
when you read my work, no matter what genre it is.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed.
And hopefully, I'm working on assembling a poetry book now, and hopefully, even when you read that, you'll be like, "Yeah,
It's
that's a
great.
Christine DiPetrillo work, even though it's poetry." Yeah.
Every time I've
So,
read your poetry, I have had that same feeling that I get when I read your novels, like that just like
yeah,
peace, that full immersion into a world. Like I feel like you can do it with a lot of words and you can do it with few words, which I just think is
few words.
such a talent.
Mm. It definitely has that foresty woods vibe
Mhm.
going too, because I can't
Can't
help
get away from
myself.
that
So.
forest crone life.
Nope, can't. So speaking of Sprite Spell, let's check in with our last one, which was to go on a solo date or
Mhm,
a side quest.
mhm.
So for me, I actually went to another artist in residence meet and greet. So
Okay.
last month it was a poet that was here in a neighboring town, and she was here to work on some things, and then she did things out in the community. I actually kind of befriended her, and we hung out, and
Oh,
it
nice.
was really cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she had some good forest witch energy that we
Ooh.
bonded on. So now this month they have a new artist who is also a writer, but a different kind of writer. So
Mhm,
I went to an event in which she read from a book that will be coming out next year. And what was really cool is that going on this solo date to this event, I was exposed to a very different way of writing a narrative story.
mhm,
She actually passed around some pages from her manuscript, and you write, similar to I write, where we're writing these full, you know, 70, 80,000 word stories, right? Whereas the beginning, a middle, and end, and like when you open up the book, if I take any one of these fairy tale books and I open them up, like the text, whoops, is
mhm.
filling the whole
Right,
page.
right.
And her manuscript that she passed around had like these short little things, and then there was a lot of white space, and
Mhm.
then you would turn the page and it'd be a different amount of text and
Huh.
then white space, and then maybe just a sentence.
Huh.
And so she does this thing where she looks at works of art to inspire writing, and the piece that she happened to look at was segmented individual pieces hung up on the wall that created the whole exhibit. So, like, her novel kind of mirrors that,
Hmm.
where it's these segmented little scenes of varying length, and it's
Hmm.
very sparse language,
Hmm.
but yet there is like a narrative story there. So I'm very
Right.
fascinated by it. And it was good for me, who's someone who's very like, okay, what's going to happen in the beginning? What's going to
Right.
happen in the middle? What's going to happen in the end? And how am I going to fill all these pages with this story and develop these characters and all of that?
Mhm.
And, I know I can be wordy with some descriptions. And here she was saying just as much with much
Ooh,
fewer words. So it
that's
was an
fascinating.
interesting thing to go to. Yeah, yeah. So that was my solo date, and she's doing a couple of other workshops and things in the
Mm.
community, so hopefully I can connect again. So
That just
yeah.
sounds like
So how about
a
you?
cool peek into somebody's creative process. I love to see
Yes.
how people stretch those creative,
Yes.
wings to, like, find something
Yeah.
new and fresh. That's just
Mm.
fascinating. I love that.
Yeah, as she called it, like an experimental narrative, and I was like, yes, that's what this is. So
She needs the red
it,
cloak. She sounds quite bold.
yeah. And yeah, and in her reading of it too, she left us in this spot where like somebody's dead. And so you're like, oh, like, even though she like, she didn't share a ton and there's not that much on
Mhm.
each page, like stuff happened,
Yeah,
so
that's so cool.
it was
I
neat.
wanna check that out.
Mm,
That sounds really neat.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
how about you?
So yeah, so I think for my solo day, because I was pretty much since our last episode to I was traveling with people, but I did do something that I wouldn't normally do. But I have a place that I love to go hiking when I'm there, and my mom and her friend aren't really into hiking anymore. So I decided I gave them the option. I'm like, I just want to go spend some time in the woods, in my special place. So, would you guys like to hang out at the flat for the morning, or would you like to come? There is a lock across the street. I could set you up with some chairs, and I'll go for a walk while you do this. And they wanted to do that, so we went. And there actually happened to be a little restaurant that I've seen there before, but I usually go in the evening, and it's always closed. So there were a ton of
Mm.
people around, which is not normal. But,
Mhm.
so they kinda just got a snack and sat outside by the lock, and I went for my hike, and I didn't worry about how long I was taking. They had the key to the car if they wanted to go sit in the car or whatever, there were bathrooms open and everything was
Hmm.
okay. So I was able to just kind of not worry about them and to just say, I'm gonna have my solo date time, which was really important for me because this is a place I really connect to my creativity. Um, there's a series I'm working on that I've been working on for a couple of years and developing all of the books that every time I'm there, I get something new about this particular book. Like it's very specific to this spot that my creativity goes wild. And I actually, while I was walking, plotted out all of the major scenes of an entire one of the books in the series there,
Wow.
like
Nice.
entirely. And it was just
Nice.
so, and so I talk into my phone and just make my notes and everything. But it was really like the whole arc of the book with like
Hmm.
all of the like little pinch points that I would need and everything. So I could literally just I could write that book right now. I already know everything that's gonna
Nice.
happen. And it's like it's further into the series. So I it was really special. It definitely reminded me of why these solo dates are so important and how it's okay to take them even when you're in a position where you're with other people. It's
Hmm.
not selfish. It's not anything.
No.
Like they were able to enjoy it. They enjoyed their time. They talked with some people and enjoyed the beautiful scenery to the capacity that they were able to. And I went and did my thing. So it was very special. And I'm glad I did
Nice.
it.
And I can't tell you the number of times since that solo dates and side quest episode aired, actually since we recorded it, that I have heard the phrase side quests in other
Really?
things.
Oh,
Yeah, it like seems to be
did
like
we
keep coming
manifest
up and
that?
people, yeah, whether people are telling me, "Oh, so like I went on this side quest," or I've heard it like online or seen it in a
Hmm.
show or something. So like side quests are it, people. If
Are
you want
we
to be
trendy?
in the know, might be.
I mean,
Finally, it only
we've
took
always we've
us
always been on this
5 decades.
island, but maybe
Yeah.
we're because I also hear a lot of people talking about being weird and being unique and being
Yes.
whimsical, and I'm like, wait a second, being weird used to not be cool. Like that used to be our thing. That was like we embraced it, but it was not
Yeah.
cool. Who's making this cool?
Yeah.
Uh,
We are.
I guess it's us. We'll take
Next thing
it.
you know,
We'll take
imagine
it.
like you're just out in public
Crown.
and people are just
Yeah.
wearing wings and
Yes.
crowns. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's us.
I think
That's
it
us.
should be the norm. Why not?
I
I saw
honestly,
I saw a thing the other day that said like there are no rules anymore. Like just be your most unhinged self. And I'm like, okay,
I can
thanks.
do that. Like this is finally
Yes.
something I can do, you can do. It was funny because
Yep.
before we started recording this episode, my hair was doing a really weird thing and I'm like, "Christine, do you mind if I just run to my I have to grab a hair clip or something." And so I like had to run through these rooms and my partner is like works from home and he's in a meeting and his office is like off of our bedroom on the other side. And so I'm like running through the bedroom to the bathroom and I come back and I'm like, Christine, I could just like imagine his thoughts when he glances over and sees me running through with my wings on, like, and
Yeah.
she's like, but he probably is just like, this is just another day. And honestly,
Yeah. It's
living
just
with
it's just Friday. Yeah.
living with us, who cares that I'm almost 50 years old and running through my room in overalls and wings.
Yeah.
It
No.
really is just another day.
there have been times where we're done recording and I put everything away and I get ready to edit the podcast and upload it and do all those things. And then I'll get ready to go and take the dog out and I still have the wings on. And I'm like, oh, and it's not until I hit the door frame where I'm like, oh, you're still wearing the wings.
So
So,
funny. And also, like, when I
yeah.
brought my mom and her friend to the flat in Scotland, I have my wings that I had to buy for one of our episodes because we were
Oh,
filming
yeah.
and I forgot to pack them. So they're hanging like on the back of the door. And like it's just so funny because people see it, they're like, you don't have any children living here. I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah.
That would be
How
me.
dare you? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, what do we have for the next sprite
So our
spell? What do you
next
think?
sprite spell is this is a little bit of a complicated one. I don't know if we've had like a super complicated one, but I think our doilings are up for it, and I think we're up for it for sure. So
Hmm.
for our next sprite spell, we challenge you to think of a thread in your own creative realm, whatever it is, that you consistently weave throughout your process. So, for example, maybe it's like a type of character that you write, a color you commonly gravitate toward if you paint, a type of stitch you like to sew or knit or crochet or any of whatever it is, like a dance move that you always integrate into your process, whatever it is. And once you figured out what this thing, like this is like your go-to, like this is something that's like, this means I did it. It's like your personal signature in
Yes.
your work. Once you figured it out, we challenge you to plan a new kind of art that's different from your normal art, but carry this thread into the new project and just see how it adapts. Like, what happens with this new thread? What does it do in this new environment? And we're excited to hear what you come up with.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And Joylings, if you have trouble deciding or knowing what your thread is, ask somebody else
Oh, good
because I
point.
think it's easy for me to say to Amanda, like, I like your subtly sweet characters. And
Mm.
she might not
Yeah, I
even
might be
be
like,
like,
"Oh, I
oh,
know
do
those.
I
Right,
always have that?
right.
Exactly.
That's good.
So ask somebody else, and somebody else might be like, well, you always have these beautiful skies in all of your paintings,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. So if you struggle with that, just ask someone else who's familiar with your whatever your creative output
For
is, and they
sure.
might be able to help you identify what that thread is. Now, you can disagree,
Yeah.
absolutely, but if you're having trouble,
Yeah.
they might be able to point it out for
And
you.
if like you're
So,
painting, so if you're painting these bright skies, then maybe you're going to write a poem about a bright sky or something like that. Like
yes.
maybe you're just going to take that thread into a different area and see how you do with it.
Mm, mm. I love it. I love it. So we'll see how we all did with this new sprite spell in the next episode.
Mhm.
And Joylings, please tell us about your progress with any of the sprite spells. So it doesn't matter, where you're coming in to look at the podcast, what
Mhm.
episode you're on. We'd love to hear about
Right.
any of the sprite spells that you've tried. And you can comment wherever you listen or wherever
Mhm.
you watch the podcast, or you can find us on social media and send us a message. Our links are in the show description and on the About tab of our Fiction Fairies Substack.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think that's it for this episode. I loved talking about your
Yay.
work, Christine. I can't wait for everybody to read it.
Thank you.
So excited.
Yeah, I just love that all three are going to be out
Oh,
there now as a nice
magical.
little set. Yes,
And the more people read them, the more likely we are to write more in that series, which I would love to be able
that
to
is
do.
true.
So please, everybody,
Mm,
we don't say it often, but go buy our books.
yes.
Or, ask your library to order them. That's an option too. So,
Yeah, I mean, all we're doing is inviting you into these fairy tale realms that are different than the ones that you're used to.
and
It's an
we
invitation.
and they're escapes. You know what? We all need a little
Yes,
whimsical, fun, cozy, warm, loving escape. And they're quick
yes.
reads and lots of fun. So
Yep,
I think when you
yep,
read them, you will feel the fun that we had in writing them. I hope. So
yes.
if you enjoyed this Fiction Fairies podcast, please hit the like button, subscribe, find us on social media, leave a review, and tell everyone about the podcast. Feel free to send it to them if you would like to enlighten their creative life.
Yeah. And if you're a creative person and would love to be on the Fiction Fairies podcast, there is a form in the show description and again on our Substack to contact us.
Perfect. And so now we'll leave you with the glimmer challenge of asking
Mm.
you to find and spread joy today. And we are waving our wands at you as we say, farewell, joylings.
Farewell, Joylings. See you next time on the Fiction Fairies podcast. Bye.
Bye.